All right, folks, Simon here. This is the 2022 TAC Championship Tournament. This is the finals, and this is not only the finals, this is the finals with game 6 of this 6-game series, meaning that this could very well be the final game of the whole tournament. Deciding who the winner is, we have just witnessed, if you're watching on the stream, we've just witnessed Ali and alion02 play game 5, and we saw alion02 win as black after Ali sort of miscalculated in the last several moves at the end of the game, miscounted the flats, and ended up losing. It was very intense, and they were both very low on time, and it was a very, very stressful game. Even for the people not playing, just the commentators and spectators were stressed out watching the game. It was excellent. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch that. It was great. But we're not talking about Game 5 anymore. We're talking about Game 6, meaning that if alion02 draws or wins in Game 6 as white, he will win the whole tournament and get the title of TAC champion. A title that is currently being held by one of our commentators on the line with us in the commentary booth, fwwwwwibib, or Fwib.
Hey, Simon. Yeah, really looking forward to this last game, and well, we'll see whether it's time for me to pass on the title or whether there's more games to come to decide who's going to take it.
Yeah, and we also have in the commentary box an additional commentator. We have Abyss.
Hello, hello. I don't have any title, but it's nice to be here.
Sorry, we have Abyss, who's number 1 on PlayTac rating right now, I think. No, sorry, you're number 2. alion02 is the number 1. Okay, you're number 2.
I'm number 1 on the other playtech
The
rating.
tournament ratings,
tournament
is
rating?
that the one that's
Oh, are you number 1 tournament rating?
Yeah.
I think no, Syme's number 1 tournament ratings.
He doesn't count.
Well,
So yeah, you're number 1.
Yeah.
I don't count Syme because his only games this year have been in Blitz. So I don't count that right now because he would be considered inactive otherwise. So Abyss, you're number 1 in the tournament rating right now. That's huge. So yeah, you have qualifications here. But also, not only that, but you were in this tournament and you got knocked out in the semifinals by alion02 after 5 games because you had to go to a tiebreaker, where you guys split. All 5 games ended up with black winning, which is unusual, especially when you compare it to this series with Ali and alion02, where white won every game except for this past one on game 5.
Yeah, I think Alien did a nicer job of adapting in the sense that he realized, I of course realized that black was doing better in our series, but I didn't fully believe it. I thought, okay, that's sort of a pattern. It's just a coincidence sort of thing. But I think he more immediately honed into the fact, okay, based off of our style and how well we lock down end games, we'd rather be black. So, he did very good to bid correctly to get black, and then we had a lot of interesting games. He missed a forced win.
Oh, I remember that one. And he called it an easy puzzle after you showed it to him. A beginner puzzle,
Yeah.
sorry.
And then I missed a forced win in the next game, and both of us lost those games.
Which is heartbreaking as a player. To know you have a Tinue and then you miss it and then lose. Oh.
Yeah, I think it's been a good learning experience for me this tournament. I was sort of lucky in that I managed to play even more games than I was necessarily being allocated to play. I got to play 10 games against good players. That's a good experience. But I'll let you actually do let's get into the real game, huh?
Let's get into the real game. But yeah, just like every other game in this tournament, we are playing on a 6x6 board. This is a 15-minute timer with a 15-second increment, meaning 15 seconds gets added to your clock after every turn. And also, we're playing with 2 komi, meaning that if the game does not end in a row, 2 gets added to black's flat count score. So, without any further ado, let's jump right in to Game 6, potentially the final game of this tournament. Now, I was mentioning your qualifications earlier. You're the number one on the tournament ratings for Playtech, for the tournament rating. Sorry, not Playtech rating. And you lost to alion02. And fwwwwwibib, current TAC champion.
That's my qualification.
Yeah, that's your qualification. But you share that in that you lost to alion02, and our other commentator, fwwwwwibib, lost to Ali in the same tournament. So you guys both played against the current finalists and felt what sort of high level play they were able to bring to the board, and and suffered those consequences. I don't know how else to put that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and Abyss put up a better fight than I did. That series went to 5 games. I lost in 3 straight games. But
oh, and we
okay,
do
so
see Alion's hug opening here, but it wasn't Alion playing the hug.
Played by Ali.
It was played by Ali, and I don't know if that was a smart play, especially because I expected Alion to play the hug last game, and he didn't, and that's what surprised me. The fact that Ali played the hug here is mind-blowing, but I think it's because he's been studying Willembot, and he has his own like local copy that he practices against and works out openings. Maybe he's preferring the hug as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I almost played the hug. Like, I, on principle, don't necessarily like the hug, but I had to practice so much against the hug when playing Alien that I feel like I know the hug better than any other opening at the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't remember like Black's first couple of moves, so I didn't actually play it. But
Interesting
Well,
play
it's definitely
here,
been
where he's got this
been interesting
diagonal
to see
connection with the capstone at the end.
Sorry, Simon. It's been interesting to see the way that the meta has kind of developed over this past year. From there was a period where it was all knights move openings all the time, and now I think that players have, with the help of Willembot, sort of come to understand that how you play against the knights opening, what are the other potential strategies for black, and then white obviously has to then respond in turn.
Mm-hmm. I do think that white, if given the opportunity, will want to play the white's opening. I still think that's really strong if you're able to. Interesting early wall from black.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
so we spoke about this a little bit in the previous game, where I think a lot of when you get to really high level attack, maneuvering capstones and trying to push the game into a situation where your capstone is more influential than your opponent's capstone, that's kind of one of those big sort of level up moments where once you can figure some of that out, that's when you really start kind of getting into the top tier of attack players. And I think this feels like to me that wall is Ali trying to prevent Alion from having it all his own way on that top half of the board, and saying, I'm going to cut this off really early and going to try and make it so that we're having to play on 1, 2, and 3 rather than 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I think what Ali is trying to do is setting up this positioning like I talked about in the first game in the early part. He's really just wanting to interrupt everything that white's going for, building out that position, and then try to work for something later on in the game. But I don't know, it's a tough position that he's in because he's on the back foot here. This is a 6-game match, and he has to win this game if he wants to bring it to a tiebreaker. And so a loss or a draw means he's out of the tournament and it's over. So he's on the back foot, and it's all the pressure on him, and he's got to do it as black, which historically he has not done against alion02 in this whole tournament.
Well, he's only had 2 chances.
That's
so
true.
let's not
I
look into that too much.
I will dramatize it as much as I want.
I was gonna point out we've almost transposed into like a more normal looking opening, except for white as a stone on B1 for some reason. Because this looks more like almost like an adjacent corners, except for the stone that's supposed to be on A6 is on B1.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It used to be that every tournament game you would see a variation on this kind of 2 white pieces and 2 black pieces side by side in the middle of the board, but we have moved away from that a little bit more recently. Like the previous game, it was those diagonal opposite corners and then opposite corners of the center 4 squares. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops from here.
Yeah, we did see for I think almost 2 years where everyone was playing the exact same opening, basically, of that mirrored opening, where you go into the center after adjacent corners and just kind of mirror your opponent before dropping the capstone as black on the opposite side of the road. And yeah, but we have definitely seen people shift away from that, and it is no longer, excuse me, no longer as common.
So I guess the point here, sorry, getting back to the actual game,
yeah.
if like A2, and there's some interesting like A2, A5, E4 minus, but maybe the problem for black is that white always says B1 plus, which is a minor annoyance, and wins the tempo back.
Yeah, this is definitely better here for white, I'd say, than for black, despite being so similar a position.
Yeah, well, it's that one wall that Ali dropped is, it's potentially going to help him to slow down the white attack, but it also is one less piece that can contribute to a road and therefore put pressure on Alion.
Yeah, so black's wall does win 1 tempo back if he needs it. He plays B5 plus. In some cases, B4. Does that work?
I mean, it depends on how the
move order,
the rest of the road is set up, because there's potential. So like in this situation, you've got the threat there. If you capture up with B4, white can just immediately renew on B1 by placing on B4. So that wall's actually not doing a ton against this threat, which is why Ali chooses to capture with the flat instead.
Yeah, this looks fine for black though. Let's see if white walls it.
Yeah, I mean, if we see something like a wall on F4, then 2E4 minus F4 left. Actually,
I think he's would rather play 3 E4 minus 1 2.
Yeah, that's probably the safer move. Don't give that wall anywhere to go. But then you're creating extra liabilities.
Still like SE4. I mean, if you're white, you can basically chase this stack around forever. And I don't fully understand the complications behind it.
Goes for the capture instead. That surprises me.
Now we've got to see a wall for black drop right on
exactly,
E3, right?
Yeah, I mean, either E3 or F4, I think it's basically the same, because you're going to be moving that wall onto E4 pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, but if you drop it at F4, then white could bring that stack down and cover up your own flats on E2.
That's true, but it does mean then that those pieces are in your area of the world. Like, again, we were talking about sort of spheres of influence. It might be a negative for you in terms of the flat count differential right now, but at this stage of the game, flat count differential really doesn't matter. It's about sort of long term. You're then sitting with 3 black flat stones under 2 white flat stones, and in a position where if Ali can free them up, he can potentially use them to create a road and really cause alion problems. So I would have preferred, I think, F4, although there's not a big difference between the two.
Yeah, so I was wondering about this, of course. So A, black is now winning the race, but I don't know that you want to test that because, like I said, B1 plus comes and it feels kind of wrong. So let's see, what's the penalty for immediately rewalling and just attacking E5? Doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely don't want to let white. You don't want to play something like D2 and let white immediately. They can stop the immediate threat with B2 plus or B1 plus or B3 minus. Yeah, this is risky because now you're allowing white to play D5, create their systole up in the top half of the board there.
I guess he's expecting to be able to play on F5 with a wall to capture over onto E5.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to anticipate black placing a wall on either F5 or D5 relatively soon. Question is, if you're white, can you create a situation where that's not backbreaking for you?
I think playing once is fine for black, but I think if black plays one more move in the south, it will be bad.
Then depending on what white does here. Because
Yeah,
white
I mean,
could
white
decide
could
to
like
play in the
wall D2
south.
or something.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Yeah, and it's worth remembering that obviously Alion can afford to draw this game, so potentially is going to be looking to play a bit more conservatively. See, what he can't afford is to lose to a road here.
Now I feel like
interesting.
black has to wall at D5 here.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the threat first if you want to, because then you're forcing white to respond, and then you can drop the wall on D5. But yeah, you definitely don't want to let white just play another flat up in the north without having some counterplay.
Yeah, I feel like if you don't wall at D5, you will end up getting tenuate or something. But, I mean, black can still force moves out of white before walling at D5. So if he wants to, he can play at D2. Or I guess A2. I feel like D2 was way stronger, but now this is where he's got a wall at D5 because he can't immediately renew this threat.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if a wall on D5 isn't the play here, but Ali, I was going to say Ali, does some kind of maverick things sometimes, but this time plays what seems like the most solid move.
And now he's got 3 walls on the board, which is not a position you typically want to be in, but hopefully he'll be able to use those.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I mean, you have 3 walls on the board, but look how many captures have been on the board already.
That's true.
1, 2, 3. A move. Another capture. I do wonder if it was slightly better for black to not play in the south first, because then maybe you have enough time to attack from e6 instead of from e5. Because it feels like... I don't know if it matters. But like, if you take on e5 and then you leave one black behind and take on e6, then your e6 stack actually is not like looking at any white pieces anymore.
No, I think from here white's going to play at F4 to make it so black's wall stack won't go up to E6.
Just e3
Yeah,
plus
I mean,
though.
Yeah,
exactly.
E3
The
plus comes
wall
up
on
and that
E3 is
messes
not
that
looking at
up.
anything else.
Goes for the a5. Same thing. I think we'll still see an e3 plus here.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the other option, which Ali doesn't play, would have been b4 plus, just to get that wall on b4 doing something more proactive than it's doing. But I think, again, this seems like the natural move to make, and this now really puts paid to that horizontal road for white. Which means that Alion needs to start thinking about how he's going to combat the potential threat from black across this 2 and 3 rank.
I think white has gone somewhat astray here.
Yeah.
Because if we look at the position, white is going to have to start addressing black's threats. The e5 stack is not that weak. If white attacks it like c4 plus, you kind of just go where you already wanted to go anyway, into e6. And if you're white, you can't really play c6, d6, f6, anything like that, because you just get immediately cut. Doesn't seem to be so great. So I'm thinking you have to address white's threats, black's threats.
Yeah.
And it's not clear how you do that in a way that's profitable to you.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
looking pretty solid for black. Now that black shut down all of what white's working on, what would white's next step here be? Because I guess you could, as white, you could feasibly play something like f6. You could play over at a3, kind of going for the vertical on the left-hand side. F6 goes for the horizontal at the top and the vertical on the right-hand side. I'm just trying to think of what could potentially get him back in the game without playing first to cut off black's horizontal there at the bottom.
So f6 I don't like, because the wall on e5 just moves up, and then both of those horizontal and vertical threats are just dead in the water. If I'm Alion here, I'm looking at e3, d2, maybe even f3, but that feels like it's a little bit too far away from this. Yeah, that's giving Ali too much. Okay, but that's what he plays. I was just about to say it gives Ali the opportunity to play, for example, d2, create that citadel, and get a really strong consolidated position in the center.
I'm pretty sure you want to play f1 instead. But
yeah, f1 seems like the better play here.
Because I don't think you want to allow the blockade on the F file, even though it is definitely breakable.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think if it's very tempting to play d2, I think, here, if you're black, just to really consolidate that position.
But he
Goes
plays
for
neither of
E3
those moves and
instead.
plays at e3 instead.
Okay, well now you can take on f5 with your one black reserve and make attack. No, wait, you still don't reach.
No, it's not. You're threatening to jump up and capture on the stack on f2, I suppose, and then get a drawbridge threat from there.
Well, if you
But no, you do
if you take 3e5 right, that is attack threat.
Oh yeah,
spreading down.
Yes, no, you're right. Actually, that's because there's the white underneath.
Yeah, I counted right, and then I went, wait, no, and then yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that would be a threat. Also, capturing right with e1 or e2, sorry, e2 onto f2. That's a threat to be able to capture up.
Yeah,
And so
I think you just play f1 though if you're looking at e2. Obviously, Alion anticipates that, plays f1.
Well, now we could see the e5, the 3e5 right to make the threat. But that would
I
probably
wouldn't
result
play
in
it,
something being played at f4, like a wall, to stop it.
A just flat f4 though, right? So the problem is, what do you do to f3 left? Because that's the natural move, but it doesn't really work because black just plays f3.
Yeah.
And he still has
great
those
for black.
flats on b1 and b3 to interrupt that stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just fill in behind whatever he plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not immediately renewing the threat, but there's a liability in the that white defense.
That was the F4
Okay, so
placement,
plays
and so if
F4.
F5 comes down, then black just captures over with the wall to
Mm-hmm.
make the threat again.
Yeah, I think he can't do it right now, but I think alion02 needs to figure out a way to slow this down enough to either bring the capstone across, like I think Will was suggesting in the chat, bring the capstone across onto d4, and get it involved in the game somehow, or drop a wall on d2.
Oh, this is kind of cute. You can play a3 as black. Oh, okay, you didn't. And then if white fills in at b3, you can activate the b4 stack wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea. See, b3 minus did slow Ali's threats down enough that he wasn't able to immediately renew the threat. So Alion has
Oh,
the opportunity now to do something that's not immediately just responding to the threat. And
I was
okay,
waiting
it
for
does.
that capstone. I was waiting
Yeah,
for that to move. I was about to talk about it, how C4 could come right and activate its own capstone, interrupt all of
yeah,
black's threats, threaten wall smashes, threaten roads, that sort of thing. That move I've been waiting for like 5 turns or more.
yeah.
And he finally did it, and I think that is a big turning point right here for alion02.
the
Definitely be very interesting to see how Ali responds.
threats are so transparent, though. Like, you're immediately forced to leave, right? I don't think he's gonna play like f3 over. We already said is terrible, right? b3 plus is obviously terrible because you give the b4 wall like the happiest wall in the world.
Yeah,
2d4 minus now, though.
2d4
yeah, but then you're
minus.
losing the threat of smashing that wall and
Yeah,
creating a
but you'll
threat on
eventually
the
bring that
top
whole
half.
stack on d3 over then to e3 to threaten the smash and work towards a road.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
Now,
d4, 2d4 minus is probably the move, but it doesn't feel great if you're white.
yeah, black has 2 walls. Like, he even has the double protected wall that he needs to stop a hard capstone. Like, I agree, it's sort of what you have to play. I just don't agree that we should be excited for white. I think we should be pitying white a little bit.
Yeah, because you play 2d4 minus, black fills in on d2. Okay,
Oh,
interesting.
so he's waiting for now the 2e4 can come right, and then white smashes that stack on f4. And
Right,
not only are they smashing
so
that stack, they're making their own tack threat in the vertical direction there and the horizontal direction. That, my friend, would be Tinue.
yeah, I mean, if Ali
So
doesn't
do
see
not
it,
capture over
then
with e4 or 2e4 here.
yeah. So I think the play for Ali here might be just putting down another wall on f5.
Yeah,
And keep
probably.
keep your walls in between the capstone and that edge, and then capture down. Another
But if he
option would
does
obviously
that,
be
white plays what at c4 to make the road threat, and then black has to come up with b4 onto b5.
yeah.
I
I
think
mean, so one important thing about the capstone moving onto d4 is that it now makes that b4 wall much more effective against the
Mm-hmm.
horizontal threat.
This is a
e2 right.
surprisingly interesting and strategic position for being at move 20. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I like I said, this e2 right I think is a definite possibility for black. I mean, it prevents the immediate smash on e4. Obviously, the problem with it is f1 plus, but then you've got another stack with a bunch of liabilities in it for white, which you can almost sort of take back at your leisure.
Although maybe e3 left is actually better. Sort of
While
unclear.
f5 feels good though.
It kind of steps on the toes of the e5 wall, in my opinion.
a little bit.
Well, I mean,
but
the
still
e5
feel
wall's
like
always
it's
got
not
the
bad.
chance to go up onto e6, right? So it's not doing nothing.
And I feel like that
Um,
wall at f5 really hurts White's opportunity to use that hard capstone that they've been working towards right here. And I think this hard capstone makes that f5 wall not stepping on the toes. I feel like it makes it more working for you.
yeah. So let's play this out a little bit. Wall f5. 1d4 right, so smashing the wall on e4. Black can then play either. I mean, black probably wants to do something like at that point 2e5 plus, so that when you move your wall down onto f4, the capstone can't smash again.
Oh, but you're in tech.
Right, yeah.
So I
That is
think
true.
that
Okay,
the
so in that
wall on
case, you're looking
f5
at
would come down.
yeah. So you can do something like yeah. After the
If that
smash,
happens,
you
you
have
get
to play
crushed with one of your walls.
yeah.
Maybe.
So maybe
I
the
don't know.
play is placing a flat on f5 because you can still capture down onto f4.
That's true. A flat on f5 works
f3
better.
can't capture up.
Yeah, that works a lot better.
And you're preventing the double smash at that point. Really interesting position.
He does go for
Okay,
the
goes
e2
for the
right, though.
e2 right.
We should note these two ideas are not mutually exclusive either.
Yeah, that's true.
Because after f1 plus, now your wall f5 is maybe a little happier. Because you're not like getting vertically attacked anymore.
I mean, I guess here
I
you
don't
could
know.
drop another wall at
What,
like
on E2?
e2. I think e2 would be the play for the wall here. But you would get crushed at e4, right?
You get crushed at e4, you play either b4 plus or 3e5 left 1 2. That doesn't feel terrible for black. So yeah, I think the wall on e2 makes sense to me. I guess it feels like the natural move.
I like how Alisa Will in the chat says, "I hate this," with no context of which side he hates being.
I think he
Does he
hates
hate
both
both
sides
sides?
because they're both so risky. I personally love when a game is like this where both players. Oh, this is attack threat for white.
Yeah.
Where both players are
I mean,
so close to a road.
That's cute.
Ugh, it's great.
Yeah.
I think this is where you'll see b4 plus.
Yeah, I mean, again, two e5 plus is also an option.
Yeah, that could finally activate that wall stack.
The danger with that is if you go 2e5 plus, smash on e4, then you have to capture onto b5, and then white can smash again on e6.
Yeah.
So I think b4 plus is the play here first before you try and take that e6 stack.
Yeah, you do b4 plus. If he smashes, you either come over with e2 onto f2.
Yeah.
Or you play a flat at f5, one of those two things. But probably the e2 to f2.
I feel like my instinct is to bail out on the e6 piece and run the e5 stack left. But
I thought of
Yeah.
that for a while, but I don't know. Because you still
I
have
don't
b4.
really have I don't have a clear reason on why that. It feels like the e5 stack is a liability because I'm afraid. Oh, he
He
did.
threw it left.
Yeah, see, he had the same instinct as me. I feel like somehow that stack, I mean, it can be attacked still by the, like, harassed by the capstone, but
And now this makes the smash on e4 much less threatening because it's not a threat of any kind. I mean,
that would
it
make it
gives.
not. It's about as not threatening as you can get. It's not a threat of any kind.
I mean, it's threatening a positive flat count differential move, but you could already make a positive flat differential move by just moving the capstone down onto d3.
Yeah, and smashing the wall just makes that wall into a flat later on to be recovered. So smashing
Yeah.
would actually be negative for white in terms of flat count.
Yeah. So I think it's white's move. I was about to say, if I'm black, I think I want to play d2 before I capture onto f2.
No, I'm captured. Well, it doesn't matter because it's not black's move, but I'm
Yeah.
taking on f2 immediately, and I'm not asking any questions.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair enough. It's maybe greedy to play d2 first. But there's
Well,
my thinking is there's not really anywhere that f2 stack can run to. It's not like Ali's in danger of getting it put in jail like we saw in the previous game.
I'm like hallucinating some weird. Oh, I don't want to swear. Some weird stuff. Like 4 f2 plus 2-2 or something. I don't know. Like somehow the f3 stack throws left, and the f4 stack gets covered by the capstone somehow. I don't know. It's probably nothing, but it's sort of why
I
I'm
mean,
thinking you want to take it first. You're just like,
yeah.
whatever, it's not a threat, which is fair too.
Yeah, so interesting for Alion. And Alion, yeah, we're down under 5 minutes on the clock. Here it's a very sort of interesting, quite an unusual position, really. So I'm not surprised that both players are taking their time here. But we saw in the last game how much time pressure can play a factor in the end game. So something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that. Abyss, what's it like?
I don't know. It has made me rather good at playing. It's weird because I'm like simultaneously good at playing quickly and also bad for f2 minus.
Don't you
Are
just
you
drop
guys
a
Okay,
trying
flat
to?
at
so
f2?
it's
Yeah, I like that.
yeah. I guess Alion is hoping to get that stack put in jail again, but
Yeah.
this flat on f2, yeah, Ali's got the momentum. He doesn't need to do that, and now you can flat on e2 just to make sure that you can that stack's not getting stuck.
E1. But yeah.
E1, sorry, yeah.
I
Just
mean,
for anyone at home who's confused.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just capture
Wait,
onto f1 with f2 here as black, you're going to be
You're
able to
yeah.
get away
forking
with the
going up
stack.
and
You can
left.
throw it
Yeah.
up or throw it left. Either way, he can't
Yeah.
wall both directions, so you're fine to capture this.
True. The only danger, I guess, is that when you throw that white capstone, whichever direction you throw in, is gonna potentially be able to come and threaten to recapture that stack. But Ali decides to play c4 and is thinking, okay, well,
Time to switch to the vertical.
yeah, give Alion something else to think about with 4 minutes left on the clock. And now you can see there is Alion can make attack threat by placing f5, but realistically speaking, there's no chance Alion wins with a road here unless Ali makes an enormous blunder. So Ali can afford to, play it a little bit slower and try and eke out the advantage that white having all these liabilities. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black flat stones under white flat stones. Like this should be a winning endgame for black as long as he doesn't make a mistake.
There are some funny ideas of. See, that's probably why I'm not a great middle game player, because I see all these crazy ideas and I waste time thinking about them. But like somehow white could get a hard cap on f3, and if they get f5, and they can just like play whack-a-mole as the walls keep coming at
Yeah.
him.
I mean, another sort of slightly crazy idea would be something like here playing 2d3 +1/1, throw the capstone up to threaten that c5 stack.
That would be a
Of course,
crazy
the danger
idea.
with that is that you can just
Fill in at d3 and make attack
fill in
threat.
at d3 and make attack threat. But
There's also a cute idea. You can do the leave 2 behind on b5 and throw to a5. And then the capstone can't reach you.
Oh, you
on
mean on
c5, you
c5?
mean?
Oh, yeah, okay, gotcha.
Oh, so
yeah.
no, yeah, you throw from c5, put it to on b5. Yeah. That's so an option. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I was
I
looking
think
at that earlier when the position was kind of different, but
yeah. Well, I mean, so I guess maybe something to think about or discuss here is if you're Alion, what do you think your best way of getting back into this game is going to be? Like, you need to find a win from somewhere. It looks like at the moment he's thinking it needs to be a road across those top 2 ranks. And with the amount of walls that are around here, that really needs to involve getting the capstone into play somehow. So yeah, I don't think that d3 plus is necessarily the right move just now, but something to keep an eye on is what does Alion do with his capstone to try and force something at the top of the board.
yeah, I was sort of thinking that the white placements in the north were defensive. But yeah, maybe he has some ambitions. My plan would be to try to play down F. But it's
You got 2
probably not going
walls
to
there,
work.
though.
Yeah, but if you win one of the wall stacks back, it's not so bad for you. I guess he's probably going to pitch E2 instead because it's actually kind of a bad piece for him. So maybe you can't quite do it.
I would say at this point in the game, things are pretty even.
In what sense?
Well, it's now even on flat count. So I think they're both on 13, including the komi. But I think if you were looking at an advantage bar or something of that sort, black feels way ahead to me.
Yeah, black is completely winning. There's no question about it.
So the reason I said even is because while black is in while they're even in flats, and black sort of has this positional advantage and has all these walls out, white is closer to making a lot more threats. And so
But no, he
I
isn't.
White was able to make more threats a second ago. They have roads coming quicker is what my thought was. Now, after these last 2 moves, now I would say black is definitely ahead. But I don't know.
I'm really not sure what the thinking was behind that E flat on E1 because you're just giving the black wall a free move to go and threaten the stack on F1.
I will also point out that alion02 is now down below 2 minutes. Now, for me, that is super panic mode. Below 2 minutes on a clock. I think below 3 minutes is when I start to freak out. 2 minutes is when I start to hyperventilate. Ali is just below 5 minutes on the clock. So, quite a big buffer.
I saw the point of the exchange, but I guess it's too far in the past. We're going to have to move on to more important moves, but it's like arguing that this is somehow better for his attacking potential, which maybe not wrong, but problem with is that when white plays F5, the E4 stack can take F4 and it's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way that Ali really gets in trouble with this vertical threat is if he allows Alion to take both E5 and F5. And then potentially your walls are going to have a little bit of a difficult time keeping all of that under control. But even then, you can capture e2 to the right, take that stack, something along those lines. It's tough. But if I'm Ali here, okay, makes the threat. Do we see the capstone come down here?
We could
or
see D1 come up, is what I'm looking at.
D1 come up, yeah.
He doesn't want to give up hopes of getting a hard cap on F3.
Yeah. So like I said, if I'm Ali, I kind of like E5 here, just so that then when you play 2E4 to the right, you're not leaving an immediate connection for white placing back on E4.
But it doesn't matter if you get E4 or E5 first.
Not particularly. Well, the only difference is that again, it's somewhat moot because Ali decides to play D1 instead.
Yeah.
Of either taking E4 or taking F4 or placing on E5. But I guess if you'd captured onto E4 first, Alion can then play E5, and playing E4 after that is a less good defensive move than having the connection between the D5 and E5 pieces.
I think this is good for Ali. I mean, the whole position is, but I feel like he does want to have a tactical slugfest with Alien, because Alien's positional play is probably better than Ali's, but Ali is tactically sharper.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
I would agree with
however it is
that.
we got here.
And we're also down with Alion was below a minute on this last turn. So when it comes to that sort of play, that's exactly what we're going to be seeing. Is we're going to be seeing this tactical play when we're down so low. And so Ali's going to want to force these positions like this, for example, making a road threat.
Yeah. Yeah, just force Alion to keep needing to think. And again, same as we saw in the last game, black is lower on reserves, significantly lower on reserves now than white is. So Ali controls when this game ends.
Oh yeah, he's gotten very low. Yeah, this is completely over.
I
Yeah,
feel like
again,
there's
unless
still
there's
plenty of
some kind of
opportunity to
blunder.
blunder because again, Ali has stated many times that he's very bad at end games, especially flat end games. He miscounts a lot, and so this is a thing that he runs into when he plays these stressful end games. However, he is up significantly on time, so that should help him out a lot from running into those same issues that he did last game.
It's pretty hard to lose this end game, I think.
Speak for yourself.
There is still some funniness. But I'm just thinking, like, you take the weakness. If you're ally, let's say you can magically get yourself to one flat, then your problems are solved because you take an F4. I don't think he can defend F3. Maybe he can.
I mean, he
Takes.
could self-capture, but then that's a negative flat move. So at that point, it depends on what the flat count is, I suppose.
Yeah, assuming it's, well, what is it currently? 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12 to 3, 6, 9, 12, 13.
Yeah, I
Plus
count
komi.
13 for white.
15 for black.
so 14 now for white, and
15
with the
for black
komi.
with the komi.
I count 14 for black with the komi. Hang on.
Really?
5, 10,
Oh yeah,
12.
14.
Yeah,
My
so
bad.
14.
14 for black. So 14.
Okay, so
14,
black does need to make at least one positive flat count.
but he's got a lot of them available pretty soon with that, especially with the wall stack on E4.
Yeah.
But black can play a flat at B6 and make a threat.
Yeah, does that.
That's what he does.
And now you're forcing a capture with a flat because the capstone can't do anything about this. So Alion's going to have to make another liability. I think the least damaging for white is capturing down on A1. But then that leaves the B2 completely open. Okay, so captures with A2 instead.
This is like the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you just fill back in on B2 and then take that A2 stack kind of
Yeah.
at your leisure here.
Yeah. There is, so Alion's preparing for like E5 left. The good thing is the wall can stop it and can't get crushed immediately.
Yeah,
There's
because that
danger.
would leave the black stone on D3 and F1 could come up.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is
Even you can even fight the stack war for it.
Yeah.
Probably. B2. Yeah, Alien should just play B2 and not think. And wait for Alien to make his move and then think.
Yeah, as long as you don't, again, blunder into a Tinue.
I feel like that was a strong misplay.
It's okay.
It forces the capture war.
Oh.
Here, I think you have to.
No, I think this works out pretty well because now
Because
White's
now,
going to want a wall at D6.
yeah, and then you just run away
Mm-hmm.
to A6, I suppose.
Yeah, you've also sort of fixed the capture at D5 issue.
Yeah. Yeah, now there's not those kind of multiple routes into a vertical road. White playing F5 is still gonna cause Ali some, he's gonna need to make some thoughts. Manatee's saying that we miscounted the flat count. That's very possible.
Well, it's hard when Alien is playing every 5 seconds, so we
Yeah.
never know whose
Yeah.
turn it
And
is.
he's down below 10 right now.
Okay.
It's too
Just bring the wall over on C5 to cut that off, or
1, 2, 3, 4.
I bet, yeah, this pause is going to be Ali counting, right? 5, 10, 13, 14, so 16
Yeah,
to black.
16 for black. White's able to make a
And
threat here.
5. Okay.
So 13 for white and 15 for black.
Yeah, so now you bring that.
And so this is attack threat here for white.
It is. So what, E4 plus is the that?
Yeah, E4 plus works really well here.
Well, the problem is that it means that
even left.
Left, I think, probably works better.
Yeah, because again, there's no smash available because that would leave a road. So yeah, I think left is better because E4 plus placing E4 then is, well, it's not a threat immediately.
No.
Yeah.
It's very hard to tell which one is better.
Yeah, I think like I'm inclined more towards E4 plus just because then you're threatening both of those weak stacks, and also you're not getting in the way of some potential shenanigans with the cap smashing you in a couple of moves. Ali now under a minute.
Meanwhile, Will is just roasting him in the chat. Yeah, I looked at this too. I sort of don't
C4, right?
Yeah, I don't like that one as much.
necessary, but
Yeah, I mean, because now the capstone can come up, and like there's no immediate positive flat count moves, but then you don't get to make a threat immediately. Yeah, I preferred moving the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So now that comes up. Ali can't make he can make a threat straight away by capturing on D2, but then the capstone just comes down, and then you're in a world of trouble for the flat count. As it is, that capstone stack isn't threatening any positive flat count moves for black. So still, I think all Ali needs to do here is just not get roaded and from that point of view, again, I like 2e4 plus. Or, again, this is a point where you could consider taking on f4.
Yeah, just flat.
Um,
Just flat is better.
Or just flat. That's
Because if
also,
he takes, if
more
he goes
flat's more
down,
better,
you
right?
yeah, if he goes down, you take on e4 like we did
Yeah.
before, and you've done
And
no
flat count
harm.
is 1, 2, 3, 4.
If he plays d3, you just take with the capstone instantly.
So it's 15 for black with the komi, 5, 10, 13 for white. So Ali, I think, has a, as long as you do, yeah, you've got to stop the threat, but
Yeah,
then should
take-
have a Gaylet here.
Yeah,
I
take
think
with
you
the
should.
capstone instantly. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. What are we doing?
I mean, that's,
This is
I guess that's okay because it's still, as long as you don't get, as long as there's no attack threat on this turn, Ali can place his second last flat. So that's not attack threat as far as I can tell. So Ali can place
Correct.
his second to last
So yeah,
flat.
black can place a flat here,
And then
after that,
whatever
it's
white
object.
does, that's it.
Takes. Yeah.
Oh, but
Okay,
Okay,
he's
now he
dead.
does
Just
this.
he needs to just place
that's
those
probably a wanting to make absolutely sure he's not getting roaded before he
flats. Yeah.
finishes off. But it should be a Gaylet from here unless we're miscounting.
Or when
Which
I have
again?
time. Oh, jeez, he was down to 1 second when he made that move.
Okay. Well, now you've got to take F1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. That's game. There's nothing Alion can do here. I guess you have to like crush on E4 and hope that something really weird happens, but
That was a +2 move, I think, right?
Yeah, he's flat though.
4, 5, yeah. You take
Yeah,
the
I mean
big
this is
spreads.
such a strong attack threat that it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a road.
Yeah. Yeah. Flat on C3. Make
You can
another
even
attack threat.
take on D2 if you really
Just
hate
place on.
Alien.
Place on C3. Yeah, there you go.
Also another.
And now it's
road threat.
basically up to Alion as to what is the most spectacular way to go out.
Can he leave behind a road for? Yes, he can. He can bring 1d2 minus.
Decides to just capture onto E2, and now it's Ali taking his. It's always good practice. Make one, have check your count one more time, and there we go.
So we saw.
Wow.
So great game, and congratulations to Ali for winning Game 6. Now we saw 4 games in this 6-game series win for White, and then these last 2 games Black wins. And that was shocking and threw me for a bit of a loop. But what that means is they have split all 6 games 3-3, meaning they will need to play a tiebreaker game in order to determine who wins the whole TAC Championship tournament and who wins the title of TAC Champion and takes it from Fwib. So Fwib, you still have it right now. You're still the champion.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy basking in my glory for a little while longer. But yeah, I mean, congrats to both players on a really brilliant couple of games there. I think particularly Ali's play as Black in that last game was exemplary, and particularly for someone who's says he feels less confident in flat end games and typically is more comfortable playing as White. That shows the real quality of him as a player. And Alion obviously hung in there in the first game, snuck the win, and had the chance to close it out. But there's one more game to go.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Ali really played to his strengths here. Basically, he got such a good middle game position that he didn't have to win in the end game. I mean, he technically did, but he basically just had to not blunder a road, if we're being honest. It was his very good middle game play. I'm not sure why Alien played E3 plus. Like, this is what I say when I mean that he's flat greedy. Like, he played E3 plus expecting SE3, and then he was planning to run away. And yes, he's temporarily up a lot of flats, but it seems like the weakness is a big problem.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
think that you're right. That 11, just 11 E3 plus. So still, only just maybe the beginning of the mid game. That I think was what lost it for Alion. He really didn't recover after that point. He had a reasonable position in the opening. It was pretty even, and even positions in the opening. White was generally on top, but making that one slightly unnecessary flat capture kind of turned it around.
But yeah, excellent game. And thank you both to Fwib and Abyss for joining me in this game for the commentary. You provided way better insight than I would have. So thank you very much.
Pleasure. It was fun.
yeah, if you say so. I feel like we just sort of shut you out, but other like I appreciate the compliment.
Well, you're more accurate, I think, in your analysis because you guys, number one, recently played these players, and number two, were actually in the championship tournament. I didn't qualify, but I mean, just barely. I mean, maybe I would have performed better than Bill if I had taken that slot from him, but probably not. Alion probably would have destroyed me just as much, so, or worse. But anyway, that is all for today. That is it for this game. We will come back for a tiebreaker game to finish out this whole tournament. But that is all we're going to do today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is the community hub and where you can find all sorts of TAC resources like strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be right here on playtac.com or asynchronously through the Discord server itself. You can play with all sorts of people on there, even the three of us. Lots of folks on there and lots of other resources as well. We have lots of tournaments that we host through there. Best place to be to get notified about the tournaments and all sorts of other community events. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.